by his ministry, were actually offended by what he taught and he preached. And we read about that in Matthew's Gospel, Matthew chapter 13, beginning in verse 53. It says, when Jesus had finished these parables, he went away from there, and coming to his hometown, he taught them in their synagogue, so that they were astonished and said, where did this man get this wisdom and these mighty works? Is this not the carpenter's son? Is this not his mother not called Mary, and not his brothers James and Joseph and Simon and Judas? And are not all his sisters with us? Where did this man get all these things? And then it says in verse 57, and they took offense in him. See, the gospel is an offensive message. That's why some of you are coming by wagging your tongues and shaking your heads and persecuting the preacher of the gospel, because it is offensive to man. It's offensive to us. To think that we can't pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps, that we need outside help to have reconciliation with God, that is a message that is so offensive to man. Because man in himself seems self-sufficient. You know, and we like to walk around puffed up with pride. I'm a good person. I do all these good deeds. I do all this charity work. You know, I was down there earlier making a phone call to my wife, and I was watching the pigeons as they were walking around on the sidewalk. And there was one male pigeon who was trying to impress a lady pigeon, and he's walking around with his chest all puffed up, trying his best to get her attention. And that's how we are sometimes. We parade our good works around before other people. And in fact, that's how we compare ourselves many times. We compare ourselves not to the perfect Savior Jesus Christ, but to our fellow man. I'm not as bad as old Bill over there. I'm not as bad as my neighbor. But that's not how God compares us. He doesn't judge us by human standards. He judges us by holy standards.